Okay, sorry. Is that
So ordered. When shall the bill be read? Right now? I heard right now. Right now. Mr. Hussein, seconded by Mr. Lamoureux, moves that Bill S-227, an act respecting Arab Heritage Month, be now read a third time and do pass. Debate. The Honourable Member for York South, Weston, Etobicoke.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today with a profound sense of gratitude and optimism as we approach the final stage of Bill S-227, an act respecting Arab Heritage Month. Today we stand at the finish line of a journey that began several years ago with the Member of Parliament from Ottawa South, and that has been built upon through collaboration, goodwill, and a shared belief that Canada's diversity is one of its greatest strengths. This legislation is simple in its wording, but powerful in its purpose. Mr. Speaker, this bill is not new to Parliament. Today we have the opportunity to complete that work. We have the opportunity to fulfill the commitment made by Parliament and deliver a recognition that Arab Canadians have long sought and richly deserve. For more than 140 years, Arab Canadians have helped build this country. They have served as entrepreneurs, teachers, physicians, engineers, artists, public servants, military personnel, community leaders, and indeed elected representatives. They have opened businesses on our main streets, cared for our patients in our hospitals, educated our children, strengthened our communities, and enriched our national culture. Their stories are not separate from the Canadian story. Indeed, they're woven and they're part of the Canadian fabric. Bill S-227 is about ensuring that future generations understand that reality. It's about ensuring that young Arab Canadians see themselves reflected in our national narrative and know that their heritage is valued, respected, and cherished. It is about education as well, Mr. Speaker. Arab Heritage Month will provide Canadians of all backgrounds with an opportunity to learn about the history, contributions, traditions, and languages of Arab Canadians. At a time when misinformation, stereotyping, and division can too often find space in public discourse, education remains one of the strongest tools that we all have to build social cohesion. This understanding builds trust, recognition builds belonging, and belonging strengthens our country. Mr. Speaker, throughout this process, I've been reminded of what makes Canada special. We're a country where people from every corner of the world can build a life, raise a family, contribute to their communities, and proudly call themselves Canadian. We do not ask people to leave their heritage behind. We ask them to contribute to the rich tapestry that defines our nation. That is the spirit of Bill S-227. This legislation is not about one community alone. It is about the Canada we continue to build together. A Canada where diversity is celebrated, a Canada where every community is recognized, a Canada where every child can see themselves reflected in our shared history. I want to thank Senator Mohamed Al-Zaibak for his leadership and perseverance in guiding this bill through the Senate. His advocacy has been instrumental in bringing us to this special moment. Mr. Speaker, after years of effort, collaboration, and support from parliamentarians across party lines, Conservative members of Parliament, Bloc Québécois MPs, New Democrats, and Greens, and from communities right across our country, we now have the opportunity to make Arab Heritage Month a permanent part of Canada's legislative framework. I encourage all members, all colleagues in this House to support Bill S-227 and help send it to the next and final stage on its journey towards becoming law so that we can signal to Arab Canadians that they are indeed integral to Canada. Thank you. Merci. Shukran.
Questions and comments? Questions et commentaires? Resuming debate, reprise débat. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to the Honourable Member for his speech too. We are here once again to consider whether April should be designated as Arab Heritage Month in Canada, given the contributions of Arab Canadians to the growth of this country since the first one arrived in 1882. I'm sure this is an idea that we can all agree on. This community, which started with just a few families, has grown to more than 1 million Canadians who have Arab heritage, plus you. The Arab community in Canada is, as the media sometimes think, a group of people who come from one place and have one way of thinking. We are in many ways an example of the diversity that is called Canada. Canada's Arab traces their roots to many countries: Lebanon, Algeria, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Egypt, Palestine, Kuwait, Tunisia, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, Sudan, Jordan, Mauritania, Libya, Yemen, Qatar, Oman, and Bahrain. United by a common linguistic root, they have different religions and cultural traditions. The popular perception may be that to be Arab is to be a Muslim, but we Arab know differently. Canada's Arabs identify as Christians, Catholic, Orthodox, and various types of Protestants. Yes, the majority are of Muslim background, but there are many who are a vital component of the societies of the Middle East. These diverse communities are tied together by a common language, the Arabic language. Even if we don't understand a word, it has a melody that makes it pleasing to listen to. Arabic is spoken by more than 400 million people worldwide. After English and French, Canada's official languages, it is the third most widespread official language on our planet. It is one of the 6 official languages of the United Nations. When we celebrate Arab Heritage Month, we are celebrating a people, and we also celebrating this language. It is the language of the poetry and mysticism, of law and humor. It is a language that unites people across the Middle East and North Africa. The rich literature that can be found in Arabic tells the story of many cultures united under a common banner. To me, that sounds like Canada. For centuries, Arabic was the language of culture and learning, especially when you were looking for information on science, mathematics, and philosophy. Our mathematics system is based on Arabic numerals. We all know that, and rarely, if ever, stop to think about what they called that. Arab Heritage Month will be an opportunity for those of us with Arab roots to share the richness of our culture, and perhaps in a more deliberate way than it is the case now. I must admit, I have never had a conversation about the origins of Arabic numerals and their liberating effect on mathematics that had led to so many scientific advances. Perhaps I should start doing that. Or maybe I can initiate discussions about the scientific advances of what is referred to as Islamic Golden Age, a period of rapid scientific advancement that took place between the 8th and 13th centuries. Despite its name, the advances of this period were not brought about exclusively by Muslims, and as Wikipedia tells us, and I quote, Christians contributed to Islamic civilization during the reign of the Umayyads and the Abbasids by translating works of Greek philosophers and ancient science to Syriac and afterwards to Arabic. They also excel in many fields, in particular philosophy, science, and theology. End quote. Some of the notable Christian scholars of the time were such as Hunyan bin Ishaq, Yusuf al-Khoury, al-Himsi, Usta bin Luka, Massaway, Patriarch Eutychius, and Jibril bin Baktushi. It is not for Arab scholars at that time working to translate works from antiquity, from the original Syriac, Greek, Persian, and Latin into Arabic. Much of the knowledge of the ancient world could have been lost forever. We owe a cultural debt to those Arabic scholars of more than 1,000 years ago for preserving so much of the world's heritage. I could go on and talk about how Arabs have influenced agriculture and medicine in ways that continue to impact us today. But you get the idea. There is so much more to Arabic culture and history than most people are aware of. Setting aside April as Arab Heritage Month will encourage Canadians to discover more about these people and their history. The Arabs have always been exported, has always exported their culture. You can see the Arabic influence when you visit Spain's Andalusian region and see the Arab influence and the architecture of the region. But does this matter in Canada? There are probably those who say that what happens elsewhere isn't as important as what happens inside our borders. The truth is, Arab Canadians have made a huge impact on this country in all the areas you can imagine. Who was the first international Canadian pop star? Paul Anka, a Lebanese Canadian from Ottawa. Who is perhaps our most beloved children's entertainer? Rafi, whose roots also in Lebanon. What NBA All-Star of Syrian background? Jamal Murray, who also represents Canada internationally. Championship wrestler Sami Zayn is a first-generation Canadian born to Syrian immigrant parents. We Arabs are a social people, which may be why many of us are drawn to the political life. We want to serve, though we don't always see things the same way. That may be why Arabs who have served in this House have done so for the Conservatives, the Liberals, the Bloc Québécois, and the New Democrats. We are united in our desire to serve, even as we disagree on politics. That's, of course, is the very Canadian way. We haven't had an Arab-Canadian Prime Minister yet, but Prince Edward Island has had a Lebanese-Canadian Premier, Joe Gitz. It goes without saying that one of the Arabs' biggest contributions to this country has been in the area of business. We have an entrepreneurial spirit. Whatever commerce happens in this country, whether it's big or small, you are almost certain to find a businessman or woman of Arab descent. All of this is to point out that it is long overdue for us to acknowledge the contribution of those of Arab heritage to the Canadian mosaic. Setting aside April as Arab Heritage Month allows all Canadians an opportunity to pay tribute to a special people. As I have said before, Canada is an example of what a society can be when the people celebrate their heritage without forgetting what unites them in common purpose. Let us celebrate Arab Heritage Month, whoever we are and wherever we are from. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate. Reprise du débat. Resuming debate. Is the House ready for the question? Okay, the Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased to rise today about Bill S-227, an act respecting Arab History Month. This bill is straightforward. It would designate the month of April each year as Arab Heritage Month in Canada. It is a simple bill, but it speaks to something meaningful. It gives Parliament an opportunity to recognize the history, cultural work, sacrifice, entrepreneurship, faith, family values, and civic contributions of Arab Canadians across this country. Arab Canadians have been part of Canada's story for generations. From the earliest Arab immigrants in the late 19th century to the communities that have grown across the country today, Arab Canadians have contributed to the Canada we share. Today, Arab Canadians are found in every part of Canadian life. They are small business owners. They are doctors, nurses, engineers, teachers, tradespeople, artists, writers, public servants, faith leaders, community volunteers, students, parents, and grandparents. They are neighbors. They are friends. They are people who come to Canada for freedom, opportunity, peace, dignity, and a better future for their children. Some come from places where basic freedoms cannot always be taken for granted. Others came for opportunity, education, family, safety, or the chance to shape their own futures. But whatever their path, they came here because Canada promised something better, a place where people could work hard, own a home, raise a family, worship freely, build a life with the person they love, start a business, speak their mind, and contribute to the common good. That is the Canadian promise, and it is worth protecting. Mr. Speaker, in my own community of London Fanshawe, we know how much Arab Canadians contribute. We see it in our small businesses. We see it in our restaurants, our community organizations, our charities, our classrooms, our workplaces, and our neighborhoods. We see families who are deeply committed to education. We see entrepreneurs who take risks, create jobs, and serve their communities. We see newcomers who arrive with courage and hope and who work incredibly hard to build a life in Canada. We see young people who are proud of their heritage and proud to be Canadian. That is something worth celebrating. Arab heritage is not one single story. It is rich, diverse, and complex. It includes many countries, many traditions, many faiths, many dialects, and many histories. It includes people whose families have been in Canada for generations and people who arrived only recently. It includes literature, music, food, fashion, scholarship, architecture, poetry, science, business, and public service. It includes people who have preserved their heritage while also embracing Canada and contributing to our shared national life. In Canada, people do not have to forget where they came from in order to belong. They can bring their best of their heritage, their work ethic, their family values, their traditions, their faith, their creativity, and their love of community while helping build one country together. That is the Canadian balance: pride in one's heritage, loyalty to Canada, and a shared commitment to the values that keep this country free. Those values matter. Equality before the law matters. Democracy matters. Freedom of speech matters. Freedom of religion matters. The rule of law matters. Respect for the dignity of every person matters. Mr. Speaker, commemorative months can serve a useful purpose when they help Canadians learn, reflect, and build respect. They can open doors for schools, community groups, museums, libraries, and families to tell stories that might otherwise be overlooked. They can help young people see themselves in Canada's history. They can help neighbors better understand one another. But we should also be honest. Commemorative months must not become empty gestures. They should not become virtual signaling. They should not become tokenism. They should point to something real: respect, opportunity, equal treatment, safe communities, in a country where hard work is rewarded. That same seriousness should guide how we approach Arab Heritage Month. It should not be a symbolic checkmark. It should be a genuine recognition of a community that has helped build this country. It should encourage Canadians to learn about Arab Canadian history, including the early families who came here in the late 19th century, the communities that grew over the decades, the businesses that were built, the community institutions that became anchors, and the younger generations now serving in every field imaginable. It should encourage us to celebrate Arab Canadian food, literature, music, art, and entrepreneurship. It should also encourage us to listen to the real concerns of Arab Canadian families today. Concerns about affordability, concerns about jobs, concerns about housing, concerns about safety, concerns about whether their children will have the same opportunities that brought so many families here to Canada. Because heritage is not only about the past, but it is also about whether families can build a future. That is where Parliament has a responsibility that goes beyond symbolic recognition. We should also celebrate Arab Canadians. Yes, we should also work to make Canada a country where every family, including Arab Canadian families, can afford a home, find meaningful work, start a business, raise Canadian safety, and live with dignity. Mr. Speaker, one of the things I hear again and again from families in my community is that they do not want special treatment. They want a fair chance. They want hard work to mean something again. They want their children to have opportunities. They want government to get the basics right. They want safe streets. They want a strong economy. They want schools, workplaces, and public services that treat people with respect. They want Canada to be a country where freedom is protected and where people are united by shared responsibility. That is a vision worth defending. And that is also why this bill, while modest, can still matter. It can help ensure that every April, Canadians are invited to learn more about the Arab heritage and Arab Canadian contributions. It can help communities mark that heritage with pride. It can help young Arab Canadians know that their story is part of Canada's story. And it can help remind Parliament that the people we serve are not abstractions. They're families with histories, hopes, challenges, and dreams. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by speaking directly to the Arab Canadians in London, Fanshawe, and across Canada. Your history matters. Your heritage matters. Your contributions matter. Your families, your businesses, your service, your faith communities, your culture, Your stories and your dreams for the next generation are part of Canada. This bill recognizes that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate, reprise débat, the honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Why, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I rise today to express my support of Bill 227. I want to thank Senator Mohammed Al-Zabak for introducing this bill, and I want to note that this legislation was brought forward, an identical bill was brought forward and passed unanimously in the previous Parliament, but of course died on the order paper before receiving Senate consideration. Canada's Arab communities have contributed enormously to our country, and they deserve the recognition that reflects their place in our shared story. Canada is home to more than 1 million Arab Canadians. The first recorded arrival of people of Arab origin dates back to 1882, in the early years following Confederation. Arab Canadians have enriched every aspect of Canadian life, including arts and culture, language and literature, food and hospitality. And I would be remiss, Mr. Speaker, if I didn't use this opportunity to raise the awareness of people of the incredible Lebanese and Arab food in my community, including Fatouche, a restaurant on White Avenue in my riding that is run by Rand Al-Iyad. A wonderful place. Everyone should stop in if they're in Edmonton. They've contributed to business and entrepreneurship, to public service and politics. Again, I would like to shout out Joe Hack, the Lebanese Canadian who unfortunately has passed away 2 months ago, but was a real leader in our community, a real leader for Lebanese Canadians in Edmonton and across this country. They have been leaders in faith communities with civic leadership. Mr. Speaker, Arab Canadians are not newcomers to Canadian story. They have helped write the Canadian story for generations. And of course, Heritage Months are opportunities. They're opportunities to educate, to celebrate, and to reflect. And they help future generations understand the contributions of communities that have helped build this country. Recognition sends an important message to young Arab Canadians that they belong, that they are valued, and that their stories matter. And I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that's important for many, many reasons. But I reflect on the last few years when I have traveled across this country speaking to people as the foreign affairs critic for the New Democratic Party and speaking about what has been happening within Palestine. And I reflect on people of Arab descent telling me that they feel like their government doesn't see them as citizens. This moment in time is important for us as a parliament and as a country to recognize the important contributions that Arab Canadians make. It's also important when we look at the rise of Islamophobia and anti-Arab racism, anti-Palestinian racism across this country. You'll recall the Quebec City mosque attack in 2017, the murder of the Afzal family in London, Ontario in 2021, the ongoing vandalism and the attacks targeting mosques and Muslim communities. In my city of Edmonton and across this country, Arab Canadians continue to experience discrimination and hate. And where hate tries to divide us, parliamentarians have a responsibility to affirm that every community belongs. This bill is about more than symbolism. It creates opportunities for schools, for community organizations, for municipalities, for provinces, for cultural institutions to celebrate and to educate Canadians about the diversity and achievements of Arab communities. It highlights the diversity of the Arab world and the many cultures, languages, traditions, and experiences represented within it. Mr. Speaker, New Democrats proudly support Bill S-227, and we reaffirm our commitment to standing against racism, colonialism, hatred, and war, and celebrate the rich contributions of Arab Canadians to Canada's social fabric. Arab Heritage Month will help ensure that the stories, the achievements, the struggles, and the contributions of Arab Canadians are recognized, not only during 1 month each year, but as an essential part of Canada's past, present, and future. I urge all members to support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Resuming debate. Reprise du débat. The honourable member for Calgary Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, as this House marks Arab Heritage Month, I rise not for the ritual gestures that too often accompany such observances, but to speak plainly about a civilization whose story stretches across 3 millennia and whose people have become part of our own. These calendar designations can slide into performance, but they can also compel us to examine substance. The actual inheritance of language, of memory, of achievement, and the choices that have shaped Arab societies in our time. I intend to do the latter. In his Indispensable History of Arabs, a 3,000-year-old history of peoples, tribes, and empires, scholar Tim McIntosh Smith demonstrates that Arab identity has never been reducible to a single ethnicity, sect, or moment of origin. It is, above all, a linguistic continuum, the Arabic language acting as a thread that has held together a vast and varied human tapestry from the first recorded mentions of Arabs in Assyrian records of 853 BCE, through the tribal poetry and trading kingdoms of the peninsula, the urban sophistication of the Levant, the Berber Arab worlds of the Maghreb, and the nomadic traditions of the Bedouin. Pre-Islamic Arabs were already a presence on the margins of greater empires, their poets celebrating honor, resilience, and the stark beauties of desert life. The latter expansion of Arabic carried with it not only faith, but administration, scholarship, and a capacity for synthesis that absorbed and advanced the learning of others. This is the deep inheritance we acknowledge today, not a monolith, but a living inheritance of peoples who have been both creators and custodians of civilization. That inheritance met the modern world in difficult circumstances. After the Second World War, many Arab societies sought dignity, development, and independence. One dominant answer was the pan-Arab socialism of Gamal Abdel Nasser. It drew on Soviet models of central direction and anti-Western posture, promising to sweep away colonial legacies and unite the Arabs under a single political and economic project. In practice, it produced authoritarian structures, economic rigidities, and repeated foreign policy failures. The United Arab Republic with Syria collapsed quickly. The 1967 war exposed deeper weaknesses. Several societies that followed this path paid in lost decades of growth, suppressed enterprise, and the entrenchment of regimes more interested in control than in the human capital of their citizens. The ideology functioned, whatever the intentions of its adherents, as a barrier to the very Western institutions, markets, and habits of mind that had accelerated development elsewhere. A second answer rose in reaction. Islamist movements, beginning with the Muslim Brotherhood, presented themselves as moral alternatives to corrupt dictatorships and failed secular experiments. They spoke to real grievances and offered a language of renewal that resonated with many. Yet the empirical record where such policies gained real influence is clear: deepened social polarization, restrictions on dissent and on minority communities, including long-established Christian Arab populations across the Levant, Egypt, and Iraq, economic policies that often fail to generate broad prosperity, and, in their most extreme expressions, the incubation of violence that has scarred societies from the Maghreb to the Mashrek and beyond. The costs in emigration of talent, institutional decay, and cycles of instability are measurable and ongoing. There is a striking exception to these patterns, though, Mr. Speaker, and it deserves our attention. In the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan built a federation from tribal foundations with a realism and self-confidence rare in the post-colonial era. He prioritized education, infrastructure, and competent administration over ideological display. His heirs have extended that project with measurable success: deliberate diversification away from hydrocarbons into technology, finance, tourism, logistics, and advanced industry, sustained investment in human capital, and a foreign policy of pragmatic partnerships. The Abrahamic Family House in Abu Dhabi, a single complex containing a mosque, a church, and a synagogue, embodies this approach in built form, a deliberate statement of coexistence among the Abrahamic traditions, not their subordination. It is the product of a confident Arab leadership, not imported dogma. It is therefore unsurprising that the clerical military regime in Tehran, whose revolutionary ideology has relied on exporting instability and targeting pragmatic Arab success stories, has directed proxy attacks and threats against the UAE in recent years. Success is an indictment of alternatives. Across the Arab world, the poles of cultural and aspirational gravity have shifted. The old centers, Cairo under its successive experiments, Damascus in its long decline, Baghdad amid its traumas, no longer set the tone they once did. Increasingly younger Arabs, entrepreneurs, and reformers look to Abu Dhabi and Dubai for working models of modernity, prosperity, and competent governance. Rhetoric has yielded to results. Mr. Speaker, this story is not abstract for Canada. Nearly 800,000 Canadians identify as Arab, a population that has more than tripled in 2 decades through immigration and natural increase. They come from Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Iraq, the Maghreb, the Gulf states, and elsewhere, the full geographic and human diversity of the Arab world. Many arrived as economic immigrants chosen for their skills. Others rebuilt lives after conflict or persecution. They have contributed in every domain that matters to a modern society: enterprise and professional excellence, medicine and engineering, scholarship and the arts, public service and community building. They have done so while sustaining family structures and work habits that strengthen rather than erode our national social fabric. In Canada, they have found what many Arab societies have struggled to secure: the protection of individual rights, the rule of law, and the possibility of advancement on merit rather than connection or ideology. Christian and Muslim Arabs alike participate in our institutions on equal terms. That participation is not an accident of geography. It is a product of a political order that treats citizens as individuals first. Where Arab citizens enjoy full equality and democratic participation elsewhere, as with Arab Israelis, both Christian and Muslim, who serve in the Knesset, the courts, and the professions, we see another demonstration that liberal institutions remain the most reliable framework for minority flourishing and Arab talent alike. To our Arab Canadian brothers and sisters, your presence here is not a footnote to someone else's story. From the mighty Nabateans in the times of Rome to the great works of philosophers like Avicenna and Averroes, to the modern resilience of a people who have endured and created across centuries, you bring the depth of an ancient linguistic and cultural inheritance and the determination of those who chose this country. Canada is stronger for it. We honor that heritage best not by reducing it to grievance or slogan, but by recognizing its complexity, its achievements, and its continuing capacity to add to a free and self-governing society. The lessons of the past 80 years are not obscure. Grand ideologies, whether imported socialism dressed as pan-Arab unity or political Islamism promising moral regeneration, have repeatedly subordinated practical governance and individual agency to abstractions, with measurable costs in human welfare and stability. Pragmatic leadership that builds institutions, welcomes talent, and measures success by results has produced different outcomes. The shift in Arab attention toward those who deliver is rational and observable. Mr. Speaker, the best tribute this House can offer is to defend the conditions that allow such contributions to continue: the rule of law, free enterprise, open inquiry, secure borders, and a confident national identity that does not require citizens to shed their inheritances, but does require them to uphold the common principles that make Canada work. In doing so, we honor Arab heritage in the only way that ultimately matters, by ensuring that the sons and daughters of that heritage can flourish here as free people in a free country. That is the Canada worth building and the heritage worth respecting. Thank you very much.
Resuming debate, the reprise du débat, the honourable member for Mission-Matsqui, Abbotsford.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And before I begin, I just want to thank my colleague from Calgary Heritage for such a wonderful and well-informed speech. My words tonight will not meet that threshold. What I'm here to talk about is shawarma. My first introduction to Arab culture was at Mr. Falafel. It's on 10th Avenue near my old university, the University of British Columbia. And I was a poor student, and I probably had enough money to eat out once a week. But man, when I went there and I got that big, juicy shawarma sandwich, it was a highlight of my week. And I still love eating it. In fact, I went back just a few weeks ago to visit some entrepreneurs at UBC, and I stopped by Mr. Falafel, and they're 26 years in business now. And I love that restaurant. And it speaks to what many Arabs do when they come to Canada, is they start small businesses. They disproportionately start small businesses and make a positive impact in Canada's economy. Another shawarma place I've been frequenting since my university days is Shawarma King. That's right up the road on Bank Street. In fact, my buddy Mo there has been serving me shawarma since about 2008 when I moved to Ottawa to do my master's degree at the University of Carleton. I probably eat there once a week, even to this day. And it's nice going to Shawarma King, a long-established shawarma joint in Ottawa, after a long day on Parliament Hill to talk to my buddy Mo. Man, the food is just incredible. The eggplant, the cauliflower, the mixed beef and chicken, the tahini sauce on top, the tabbouleh salad. I love this food. I think it's the greatest food in the world. Another place, Falafel King on Denman Street in Vancouver. They've been serving the best carrot soup I have had in my entire life. And whenever I go to English Bay, I gotta stop by Falafel King and get the carrot soup. They also put a lot of tahini on their chicken too, and I can never go wrong with that dish. It is honestly one of the best meals I could have, and it brings me joy every time I get to eat it. Another place, a new one. This is a good one. I went to Ajax on a small business tour the other day, or a few months ago, and I went to Aleppo Kebab. The owner of Aleppo Kebab is a Syrian refugee, and he used to have a shawarma joint in Syria that served all the tourists that would go to the Roman ruins. Unfortunately, due to all of the conflict in that country, he had to come to Canada. But like many people do from Syria and other Arab countries, he didn't sit around getting welfare. He started a business. And man, that shawarma barbecue, the barbecue I got at Aleppo Kebab in Ajax is the best Middle Eastern barbecue I've had in my entire life. And it makes sense. His family's been doing it for generations, and he's a really good businessman. I love Middle Eastern food. And I'm giving these examples because they're real. People can relate to them, but it speaks to the broader impact that shawarma restaurants have had for small businesses in Canada. Now, another great example of Middle Eastern food has come from some families I've helped in my job. I've had this Iraqi family give me Iraqi dolma, and it's like wrapped in a leaf, and it is like just mouth-watering delicious. It's like they put some like rice and lamb in a compressed pot with tomato and all sorts of spices. And I'm like, I can't find better food than what they have in the Middle East. It blows my mind and it warms my heart every single time. So the bill we're discussing today is about recognizing Arab contributions to Canadian society. And I think they've had an outweighed impact in terms of food. Shawarma is the greatest food in the world. And I think it's the best form of fast food in the world. And every chance I get to eat it, I'm going to continue doing so. And I thank all of the shawarma restaurants across Canada for keeping me fit and in better shape and not going to a burger or something less helpful, because their food is just so amazing. But when I speak to many of the new immigrants from countries in the Middle East, they don't want to necessarily just stop at shawarma restaurants. Their frustration with Canada relates to skills recognition. The reason some of these entrepreneurs are so good with their restaurants is because in their home countries, they were running engineering firms. They were doctors at regional hospitals. They were orthopedic surgeons. Canada must and can do a better job of admitting people and allowing for their previous work experience to be recognized in Canada. The common story that has been shared in this House of Commons thousands of times is that from the cab driver or the shawarma restaurant owner is that they had this great career abroad. They came to Canada on the points system, not necessarily as a refugee, but as soon as they got here, they found it almost impossible to practice the profession that got here in the very first place. Now, the Liberal government has made commitments to improve skills recognition. I hope to see those promises fulfilled. I think that's a good thing for Canada and a good thing for our economy. Provincial governments across the board have done so as well. If we take anything from this legislation here today, it is, I think, that very point, is that we're not seeing the full potential of Arab citizens in Canada if we don't modernize our immigration system, our skills recognition, to allow people to flourish in the way we want every new Canadian to flourish in our country. So thank you for your time today, Mr. Speaker, and it's really wonderful to talk about amazing shawarma in the House of Commons today.
Resuming debate, prise de débat, the honourable member for Northumberland Clark.
Thank you very much, and it is an honor to rise every time I get the opportunity, but in particular for this very important private members bill respecting Arab heritage. Before I get started into the speech, though, I would just like to take a moment because it's been some time since I've risen in the House to say what a great privilege it is to represent the great people of Northumberland Clark, and it is a true honor to be here. And so, thank you very much for sending me here 3 times, and who knows, there may be a 4th. But the heart of today's speech is obviously about Arab Heritage Month. I'm going to sort of start a little bit by painting the macroeconomic picture, but it'll come clear as to why I'm doing that. Canada right now is in an economic challenge, really an economic struggle. Of course, as was said many times in this House, we are the only G7 country that is currently in a recession. Our GDP per capita has barely grown over the last 10 years. In fact, it's the worst growth per capita since the Great Depression. And so we also have an unemployment rate rising of over almost 7%. It's nearly a third higher than the United States. Sorry.
Order, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary on a point of order.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we're not on the opposition day motion. We're on a very respectful bill that was brought forward that deals with the Arab community. I would ask the member to be relevant.
I thank the honourable member. We do allow broad relevance on these matters, but I'm sure the member will bring his remarks back to the point of hand. The honourable member for Northumberland Clark.
100%, and I'll get to the punchline because I don't want to keep the member waiting. It gets to the. We have always needed the type of entrepreneurship and innovation that has been led by Canadians of Arabic origin. I want to tell you a story, actually, a little bit about a Lebanese gentleman that I got to know. His name was Ziad, not the member from in our house, so I think I'm allowed to say that. But Ziad, I got to work alongside, and it was an absolute honor and privilege. This gentleman was a true shining light for what Canada should be and what the Lebanese community in Canada is. When working beside him, there wasn't a business opportunity that this guy could not see. When we would be, I won't get into the details of the business, but obviously, like any business, it's important to have more sales, to grow your business, and to be more and more productive. And so when everyone else said, "Oh, we're not going to get the sale, we were not going to grow the business," Ziad always would find a way. And this, to me, is if you've had the honor and privilege of meeting Lebanese Canadians, you know that they are, bar none, there are no better business people in this country or anywhere in the world. They bring with them an incredible power of positivity. They have just a natural mind for business, and to see the way that to deliver those products and services, not just because they want to be successful or they want to make a profit, and all those things happen, but because they have a deep sense of community, and they believe and they support and they trust one another. And so, as I said, Canada is in an economic quagmire. We're in an extreme challenge. We have the most indebtedness of any G7 outside of Japan. We are facing, like I said, high unemployment. Our inflation is creeping up. It's still within range at 2.8%, but creeping up. We have the highest food inflation. We have a quarter of the population that are food insecure. And so while we've always been highly dependent on our friends on Canadians of Arabic origin, we are even more so dependent right now because we need their entrepreneurial spirit. And I want to give you another story of another. This is actually a friend of mine's dad. She tells me the story. Her dad came over here with literally not $1 in his jeans, and he built a construction business simply by the force of will. He did not speak English nor French. He did not. He came over here with not a penny to happen. Had everything in life stacked against him. But once again, that incredible Lebanese spirit, their mind for business, and their innovation and their entrepreneurship shine through. And not only was he able to create a successful business, he was able to raise a family and help build a community, support other Lebanese members of his community within Canada. And as I said, his daughter went on to be a very successful lawyer. And this is the type of entrepreneurship innovation that Canada is increasingly in need of. So one of the stats I'll go back to again, if the member would give me indulgence, I will digress, but I'll bring it back, I promise, is with respect to what is called the entrepreneurial drought in Canada. Throughout recent history, there have always been more businesses starting than closing in Canada. That ended in 2024. We are now seeing more and more businesses that are closing every day in this country, and actually more businesses are now closing than are opening in Canada. In fact, fully over 50% of folks who are business owners today say that they would not recommend to a friend or an acquaintance to start a new business. But we desperately need that business in Canada. And so certainly the government policies, as one government official said to me, the government has put a lot of snow on the runway, and we need to clear it off now. And I think that's very well put. And so we need to clear the path for these entrepreneurs. So the great entrepreneurs of Arabic or other origin have the ability to succeed and to be yet more successful. And ultimately, Canada has, I believe, the best workers, the best brains, the most intelligent people in the entire world right here in Canada. And that's in no small part because of our diversity. We bring the best and brightest from literally all around the world. And I have certainly been impressed by people of all different origins, and so it makes all the sense in the world to acknowledge that diversity with a spirit of inclusivity, and so that we can allow all Canadians to achieve that economic dream. An economic dream that is, unfortunately, because of 10 years of Liberal mismanagement, has increasingly become more difficult to achieve. We've seen that we've had a whole generation that is finding it very difficult to buy a house. The age of home ownership, the average age of when you buy your first home, is creeping out further and further and further along. And I believe that all Canadians should have the opportunity to own that house. And I know that Canadians of Arabic origin will be there pushing, as they have, with their tremendous legacy throughout the world. They are, of course, have been responsible for breakthroughs in nearly every single discipline you can imagine, whether that's cultural, whether that's mathematics, whether that's engineering, science. They have been there in making those breakthroughs, making our world literally a better place, saving lives with medical breakthroughs. And so Canada is more independent. We need them more than ever because of all, as one Liberal official said to me, all of the snow that's been put on the runway over the last 10 years. And so acknowledging their tremendous contributions. And now I believe the population is over 1 million people who count themselves as from Arabic origin. And that's absolutely tremendous. And I, for one, I'm hoping that number grows because of the amazing contributions that they've made. Some of the best doctors in the world, some of the best engineers. And I said, my own personal experience is with several Lebanese business owners who just contain this incredible energy of optimism, of spirit that Canada really needs more than ever. So with that, I would say this private member's bill has my full support, the Arab Heritage Month bill, and I look forward to it being unanimously passed. And us as a House of Commons, as a people's representative, acknowledging the tremendous accomplishments of Arab people. And if I could, I'd give a whole year, in fact. But I guess April will have to do. It's my pleasure to stand here in full support of this private member's bill, and I can't wait for it to be law and to celebrate here with some great shawarma. Thanks very much.
Resuming debate with praise debat, the honourable member for Edmonton West, and I'll inform the member he'll have about 8 minutes to deliver his remarks. The honourable member.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise on this, and I want to start by mentioning two historic Arab Albertans involved in politics. The first is my very dear friend, who I call my brother. It's a member from Edmonton Manning. My friend was the very first Lebanese MP ever elected in the province of Alberta. He's also, besides being a phenomenal representative of the people, I've come to know his family very well, and incredible family. And my dear friend also is donated one of his vital organs to help save his son's life. Just further proof of what a fine gentleman he is. One of his sons later worked for me on a couple of my campaigns and did a phenomenal job, and then moved on to help out the provincial party as well in Alberta. There's also another man who really, if I could find an Arab politician to live up to my colleague from Edmonton Manning, it would be Larry Shaban. Larry Shaban was the very first Muslim elected to higher office in North America. That was in Alberta. He was also the very first to serve as a provincial minister in Canada, or even compared to perhaps equivalent in the US. He served as a minister under the great Peter Lougheed, as well as Don Getty. I want to read a quote from Peter Lougheed about Larry Shaban at Mr. Shaban's funeral. We all know how much better we are because we know Larry Shaban. We all know how much better Alberta is as a whole because we know of Larry Shaban. And I cannot think of a better tribute from one of the greatest Albertans ever to one of the other greatest of Albertans than Mr. Lougheed made about Mr. Shaban. So I wanted to bring that up. And I know my colleague from Edmonton Manning would like to call by his name, but I won't. We'll live up to Mr. Shaban as well. Now, the very first Arab recorded in Alberta was in 1912, known Ali Ahmad Abu Shadi, who was also from Lebanon. Him and his uncle, Steen Shadi, moved from Lebanon and settled in Lac La Biche, which is, I think, probably now the largest Arab community in the entire world, and the largest Lebanese community including the entire world, including in Lebanon itself. Phenomenal community north of Edmonton. I've had the pleasure to visit many times, and still maintains incredible Lebanese culture. I also want to talk about a couple of friends of mine from Edmonton. Now, we could spend, as my colleague mentioned, we could spend all day talking about contributions from the Arab community to Canada, but I want to mention a couple dear friends of mine who I've known for many years. First is my office manager, Ola Sanduga. I know she's probably back in Edmonton right now planning my demise for mentioning her, talking about her in the House, because she's a bit shy. But I've had the pleasure working with Ola for 10 years in my office. Before working with me, she worked for the Honourable Laurie Hahn, and before that, Peter Goldring. Now, Ola hails originally from Palestine, is a very proud Palestinian. I'm very proud to have her with us. She has, over the 30 years she's worked in MP offices, helped untold thousands of Canadians, whether it's in CRA issues, EI issues, especially immigration issues. We have people contact our office from around the entire province, knowing that Ola is the one to help. She is considered by all of our offices in Alberta as the most senior, most educated, most experienced person to help out on so many files. Ola's just returned to our office after very lengthy challenges, and I cannot express how happy we are that she's back with us. I know my constituents express the exact same feeling. My predecessor, part of my writing, the Honourable Laurie Hahn, used to say about the constituency staff and the MPs that the MPs were just the hood ornament and the constituency staff is the engine of the car, and Ola is a phenomenally strong-running V8 engine in that comparison. The other one I want to mention specifically is Ola's father, Dean Sanduga. Dean, of course, as well, hails from Palestine. Incredible community leader, has raised an incredible family. To this day, even though he is considerably older than me, still stays very active in the community, helping newcomers, helping Canadians, helping Edmontonians. So again, I wanted to say thank you for both of them for all the incredible work they have done in helping. Now, for the rest of my few minutes I have, I'm going to plagiarize a read from a story from someone from the U of A, Sarah Carter. She's a professor there. I found just some of her stories she was telling about Syrians in coming to specifically Western Canada. Specifically, there was one of her favorite authors is a gentleman named Habib Saloom. Now, my colleague from Abbotsford may like this. Mr. Saloom was famous for writing books, including one, Arab Cooking on a Saskatchewan Homestead. Now, one of Mr. Saloom's books he concluded with, and a great comment, the saga of the Arab immigrants is truly the story of Canada. He says he feared they were being forgotten as those with Arab heritage sought to assimilate. He hoped that fellow Canadians and others, after reading our family's saga, will feel that Arab Canadians have contributed to Canada's history. And I encourage people to read that book, and it's very strong words from Mr. Saloom. I want to just start with some of the story that Sarah had written about Arabs in Canada, especially Syrians. And she starts off with, Syrians have a long history in Canada. Paul Anka, perhaps, being the best-known Canadian of Syrian ancestry. Now, I look around the house, perhaps as my colleague from Abbotsford with his love of Arab food. He's so young, I'm not sure if he knows who Paula Anka is. I'm looking around for the other gray hairs. Yes, there's a few of us know how Paul Anka. Wonderful gentleman, but yes, I think probably the most famous Canadian Syrian ancestry. Now, Sarah goes on to say there were many others, many whom we must consider old stock Canadians. And I think she makes a reference just to show how long people of Syrian heritage, but Arab history have been in Canada. It goes back to the very, well, as we've heard earlier, beginning of Confederation. She continues, somewhat less known, for example, but still very popular, was Canada's King of the Fiddle. Anine Kingannon was born in Swift Current in 1914, and I am aging myself. I actually remember who Kingannon is. I see I'm getting the wave off that my time is up. I will come back and finish my last 2 minutes with the story about Kingannon and Tommy Hunter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. The member will indeed have 2 minutes when the House next considers this matter. Order. The time provided for the consideration of private members' business has now expired, and the order is dropped to the bottom of the order of precedence on the order paper.